I've personally met aliens, Bigfoot. I know for a fact that Michelle Obama is a man.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. I am thrilled to be here and excited to announce that today, this episode is our 1,000th episode of the Appraiser Coach Podcast. Can you believe that? We have been around a long time, many years, going on almost a decade now on the podcast channels, and super thrilled to be here on our 1,000th episode. I do have a surprise coming up. Can't wait to introduce you here in just a little bit. But first, want to pause and big shout out to a couple companies that have been here with us from the very beginning, and that is Working RE Magazine and A La Mode. Working RE Magazine is where I go to get my information about what's going on in the industry. A lot of episodes over the last 1,000th episode started with an idea from Working RE Magazine. Of course, A La Mode is the software that I use every single day. And again, thank you to each of these sponsors for being sponsors from the very beginning. Well, folks, welcome to the 1,000th episode of the Appraiser Coach Podcast. Today, we have a very special and somewhat mysterious guest joining us. He's been my biggest critic from the very beginning. He has a lot to say about my blog post. Seems like every time a blog post comes out, he's right there to make a usually negative comment. He's been on the comment section of my podcast. Please welcome, for his own safety, in a dark video and with a disguised voice, the infamous Bill Johnson.
Well, thanks for having me, Dustin. I think it's about time that I set the record straight.
Well, Bill, honestly, it is quite a surprise to have you here, especially for our milestone episode. As you know, Bill, I've been trying to get you on this podcast for many years. I think we all know why you haven't come on. The fact is, you're not really Bill Johnson. We all know that. And that's, of course, why you're in disguise today. But I have to ask, why, after all of these years of criticism about the Appraiser Coach, why did you finally choose to come on the podcast today?
Well, Dustin, I couldn't resist the chance to address your audience directly. It's important for me to seek the truth and expose what I believe are your misleading claims.
Okay, well, speaking of seeking the truth, listeners to this program might know Bill Johnson, as I mentioned earlier, is not your real name. I know that for a fact because, appraisers are not anonymous, right? There is many directories out there. You claim that you're from the San Diego, California area. I've done a ton of research just for fun, just for kicks and giggles, just because you've been in my life for so long, Bill. I care so much about you. There is no Bill, there's no William Johnson in that area. And because I've asked you on the podcast before, and I know that it would expose who you are, okay? Again, we know that Bill Johnson's not your real name. I question whether or not you're even an appraiser, but I'll just take your word for it, right? I have to ask, why do you do an alias? Why Bill Johnson? Why are you in disguise today? Really, what I'm asking is, what are you so afraid of, Bill?
Well, it's not fear, Dustin. It's about protecting my identity so I can speak freely the truth without repercussions. Plus, the dark video adds a bit of drama, don't you think?
Well, very dramatic indeed. I will give you that, Bill. But in all seriousness, why the constant, what I'm going to refer to as negativity? Why do you spend so much time attacking my work?
Negativity? I call it constructive criticism. Someone has to keep you honest, Dustin. You're here making claims about appraisers working less hours, making more money, and someone has to question that narrative.
Well, I mean, I guess what I teach definitely is not mainstream. I will absolutely freely admit that, but I believe it. I mean, I've used these principles in my own life. I've been very successful as a real estate appraiser. I've helped many appraisers turn their lives and businesses around. I mean, honestly, that's really why I do this. Sure, there's some money involved as well. I'll be completely transparent with that. But I do this because I absolutely am passionate about helping appraisers to better their lives, better their businesses. And it seems like the things that I teach them are doing that, right? So let me ask you something, Bill. If being an appraiser is such a crappy occupation, it seems like that's kind of your theme. Why do you stick around? I mean, why not move on to something else?
Well, first of all, it's not that easy. You can't just switch careers on a dime. And I stay here because I care about this profession. It's not about the job being bad. It's about misinformation that's hurting the industry. Plus, I need to seek the truth in this field.
Well, Bill, I guess what I'm getting at is you seem particularly skeptical about my claim that appraisers can simultaneously make more money and work more hours. Why is that? Why are you so skeptical of that claim?
Well, because it sounds too good to be true. And you know what they say, Dustin. If it sounds too good to be true, well, it's probably too good to be true. Take, for example, the inspection. I think I'm pretty fast. I put my clipboard on and 100-foot tape on my belt where I can reach them, and I typically can get in and out of a model home in a little over an hour. Graph paper on a sturdy clipboard is tried and true. I tried a laser one day and I could not even see the red dot. How is that going to help me to be faster? Maybe your modern practices work in some markets, but in places like Southern California, where I am, and the fees are low, the competition is fierce. Well, it's just not realistic.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess I would say I have hundreds of appraisers who would maybe testify to the contrary. Anyway, let's leave that for now. By the way, some of them are in Southern California, but let's leave that for now. You also like to make fun of the fact that I use virtual assistants in the Philippines. Why does it bother you so much that I use virtual assistants in the Philippines? Are you racist, Bill?
Come on, Dustin. Let's not play the race card. It's not about the VAs themselves. It's the idea that you can outsource significant parts of the job and still maintain quality. I just don't see that you can outsource any part of the appraisal and not cut your quality. You're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, Dustin.
Probably one of the reasons you're so miserable, Bill. Speaking of being miserable, are you miserable with your current software, folks? If you are, I highly recommend that you take another look at a la mode. Now, folks, sometimes people take a look at a la mode and they say, well, it's more expensive than what I'm paying for. Okay, sure. If you're going to look at it as an expense. Now, if you're looking at it as an investment in you and your time, we've talked today about making more money and working less, right? Part of that is technology, and the best software out there, of course, is a la mode. Big shout out to a la mode for being a sponsor all the way along the 1,000th episodes of the Appraiser Coach Podcast. And you can find out more, of course, by going to their website at alamode.com or calling them at 800-ALA-MODE. Of course, another great sponsor from the very beginning is Working RE Magazine. Can't say enough good about Working RE. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Working RE. You are wonderful. We love you and love to do business with you. Of course, if you are interested, folks, in the very career that you chose to be a part of, right? Unlike somebody else that I know that seems to hate the career that he chose. If you love the career that you've chosen and you want to learn more, go to Working RE. It's a no-brainer, folks. WorkingRE.com. And again, go to their website, WorkingRE.com. All right, folks, we are back. We are speaking with the infamous Bill Johnson. Welcome back, Bill.
Okay. Well, thank you, I guess.
I'm curious, where did the obsession with attacking the appraiser coach start?
Well, that's easy. First of all, I'm not attacking you. I'm holding your feet to the fire, but really it started with go create some value.
Huh?
You always say, go create some value. And I happen to believe that appraisers don't create value. They report it.
Okay. You do realize that go create some value is not referring to, anyway, never mind.
I mean, I guess everyone needs a catchphrase. That's why I have seek the truth. And it's the blue shirt.
The blue shirt?
I just watched you on YouTube day after day wear the same blue shirt, and I just can't understand how someone can wear the same shirt day after day after day and it not get dirty. It doesn't get holes in it. It seems to last forever.
Bill, you do know that it's not the same. Anyway, never mind. Forget it.
But what really put the cherry on the top of the disdain cake was the dance video.
The dance video?
You know, the video of you dancing around an appraisal inspection to Maroon 5. I just feel like an appraiser should not love their job so much that they can dance through an inspection. Furthermore, no one, and I repeat, no one should be listening to Maroon 5 ever again.
Wow, Bill. I've spent a long time trying to get you on the program. You attack and then you retreat. I've invited you several times personally. I even promised you at one point that you could say whatever you want, that you could just speak without editing, right? I would play the entirety of the interview with zero cuts, zero editing. That way there could be no possible way to tweak and manipulate what you've said. You've never taken me up on the offer. Mark Skapanitz even offered a reward once to anyone who could prove who the real Bill Johnson is. I will say this. What you say publicly honestly used to bother me. I'm going to tell you a quick story. The first time I ever heard of Bill Johnson, I was with my family in Yellowstone National Park. We like to go either early spring or late fall. It avoids the crowds. There's usually more wildlife to see. I just love Yellowstone Park. We don't live too far from there. But one of the things about Yellowstone Park is there's not a whole lot of cell reception. And so sometimes it's hours in the park before you get messages or what have you. And the first time I ever heard of you, Bill, you attacked something that I said, and viciously, I thought, attacked something that I said, and I didn't have any opportunity to respond because I was getting your messages, but I couldn't get any messages out. And honestly, it kind of ruined my vacation. I let it ruin my vacation. Again, what you say used to, and I want to stress that word, used to bother me. It no longer does. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. I apologize for this, but a dog licking up its own vomit. That said, it seems you spend more time attacking me than focusing on growing your own business. That's my biggest criticism of what you do. Listen, I am absolutely open to any criticisms. I love to learn. I love to grow. If I'm getting something wrong, I learn a lot from my listeners. I learn a lot from my readers. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone who is willing to do that. But it seems, honestly, Bill, like you're not trying to help in any way other than just you have more time on your hands than you need. And that really seems to be much of the problem. You hate your life, but instead of improving it, Bill, I apologize for this, it seems to me from my perspective, instead of improving it, you spend time tearing me down and others down. What's that all about?
Someone has to hold you accountable, Dustin. That means if someone has to sacrifice their own business and their own time, so be it. The truth is more important.
All right, let's dive deeper into that, Bill. How do you find that the time to critique every single blog post and podcast episode I release is valuable? Do you have a special Bill Johnson bat signal that goes off every time I publish something?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's a bat signal. It's more of a finely tuned radar for nonsense. Plus, I've got a lot of free time since I'm not busy outsourcing all of my tasks to virtual assistants.
Okay. All right. Shots fired. Speaking of virtual assistants, I would really love to know, Bill, what is your beef with them anyway? It seems like you really have an issue with virtual assistants.
No, but I do believe that relying too much on VAs can compromise quality. Plus, I enjoy imagining you trying to explain American real estate nuances to someone halfway across the globe. That's funny.
Trust me, Bill, it's a fun exercise in cross-cultural communication. But let's get back to your own skepticism. You've mentioned Southern California specifically. You claim to be from San Diego. Again, I have not found a Bill, a William Johnson anywhere as an appraiser in that area. But what makes you think that my methods wouldn't work in Southern California?
Southern California is a different beast, Dustin. Low fees, higher competition, and did I mention the traffic? It's hard to believe you work less, earn more mantra applies there.
Well, okay, Bill, but in fairness, have you tried applying my methods for yourself? Or are you just basing this on your instinctive negativity?
Instinctive negativity? Well, that's a good one. Ha ha. No, I haven't tried them because I prefer methods that are grounded in reality and longevity, not fantasy.
You mean you like to base your methods on the old style, like many appraiser sources out there? Well, Bill, listen, you're quite the opposite demographic of what I typically like to work with anyway. But let's lighten the mood, shall we? What's your favorite hobby when you're not busy critiquing me?
Oh, I dabble in what some would call, I don't know, conspiracy theories. I've personally met aliens, Bigfoot. I know for a fact that Michelle Obama is a man. Don't ask me how. My latest intrigue has been Boeing. I've also been looking into what you must secretly be cloning yourself to manage all of those properties and still have time to podcast. By the way, cloning can be done, you know.
Why am I not surprised? You know what? Cloning actually would solve a lot of my problems. So maybe we should get together, Bill, and talk about that sometime. But seriously, you must have had some good points buried under all that criticism at some point. Care to share any, I don't know, constructive advice for the listeners?
Sure, I'll bite. My advice is to always question what you hear, especially, again, if it sounds too good to be true. And yes, that includes questioning me too. Remember, seek the truth no matter where you might encounter it.
Well, that's actually pretty solid advice, Bill. I'll give you that. Now, before we wrap up, any final words for our audience?
Yes, Dustin. Always, always, always seek the truth. Don't be afraid to challenge the so-called experts, even if it means you end up on a podcast with a distorted voice and a dark screen.
Well, Bill, it's been an interesting conversation. Thank you for joining us today, providing some unique insights. It's been an honor. And to our listeners, thank you for sticking with us through 1,000 episodes. Seriously, folks, your support and listenership has been a blessing. My first episode was on February 4th, 2015. Yeah, I know. That means we're almost 10 years in, almost a decade in of doing this. I actually went back and listened to the first episode recently just for fun. Cringe, right? Anyway, cheers to the 1,000th episode. And of course, here's to many more. Go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach Podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.